let's make this a truly delicious half hour. There was quite a few people waiting in the room. Thank you so much for your patience and your understanding. I am delighted you're here. Let's make this like really juicy. So I want you to give me either one of your greatest, oh, Kim, if only I knew this, or if only I could solve this. Like, let's get down and dirty. Let's dive deep. Who's willing to just run and jump off the edge? Because I want to help you understand how Positive Prime can assist you no matter what it is that you're facing. And if you want me to give you an example to get you started, to get our creative flow.
I'll go. It's Suzanne.
Hello, Suzanne.
Uh-oh. I think we're frozen.
I can't actually see your video, but
Hello?
Yeah, I can't see your video, but what I'll do
All right, hang on a sec. Hang on. There we go.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, but the connection is not good.
That's okay. Let's see what we can do.
And, oh, bummer. I really want to.
That's okay. Even though we stop your video, we can still hear you. So ask.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. All right. So how do I disconnect from memories of childhood that were negative, that when there's a similar situation now, obviously I'm an adult and I can work through it, but it's that underlying feeling like, oh, and one of them, you know, just to be real specific, and I don't really remember if this was all the time or sometimes, or it was, but it's exclusion. If you weren't part of a group getting ready to do something, sometimes when I come home from work, I love sitting and doing nothing. And other times when I'm not, I think, oh, that connection to childhood there, and I don't like that feeling at all.
Suzanne, I thank you very much for your candidness.
You're frozen.
I think you might have a bit of an issue with your connection. However, I actually heard all of that, so I'll answer you. And best or worst case scenario, you could even watch the replay to this. We recorded it so that whatever I say, you'll be able to go back over. Nice big deep breath in. Allow yourself to connect to the divine, or the quantum field, or the universe, or even just anchor into Mother Nature. Nice big deep breath in, and a very slow exhalation is probably the best idea. Now, what I would say to you, Suzanne, is that I think 99.999% of us have some aspect of what might be considered abandonment issues. So the exclusion is also that you were abandoned by the people that you thought would want to actually include you, whether that's friends or family, or it was not being chosen on the sports team. And I think that that does continue to happen all throughout our lives. And so for me, what I would essentially try to do is remind yourself that you are indeed loved. And it's maybe starting with as a child of God. See, I think that sometimes when we're rejected, which is one of the ways we could actually position this, and it's one perspective, we feel like we're unlovable. And so what actually happens inside our brains is we go in search of all of the evidence to substantiate to ourselves, and we provide to ourselves the reasons why maybe we are unlovable, and therefore that's why we're being rejected. And then we actually get ourselves into these very interesting spaces where we then recreate situations, we put ourselves in situations that give others the ability to reject us. All of this is very subtle. It's all very subtle. So there are sessions and there's work that I would suggest to you first up, and that is about you are more than enough. You are more than enough. And I'm just going to screen share with you so everyone can, you know, travel along here. I was reading somewhere the other day about imposter syndrome, and 99.999% of us also have imposter syndrome. And we ostensibly never feel like we're prepared well enough. Some of us actually go overboard with perfectionism, but I Am Enough is actually a session by Marissa Peer. You can go and Google who Marissa Peer is. She does amazing work through Mind Valley. She's a great hypnotherapist. She has created her own modality called rapid transformation therapy. This is a fantastic session, I Am Enough, right? And I would say to you that you feeling like you're more than enough and you proving to yourself how you're more than enough will actually give you a different vibration, which means that you might be more courageous about going out there and including yourself in lots of other opportunities, right? So sometimes, and I can resonate with you. I understand I'm introverted, and unless I come back and I actually retreat and I allow myself to recover and refresh and be rejuvenated, I can't go back out there into the world. It's too abrasive for me. I will find that I'm attacked when I'm not really, but that's my perception of it. I will find that I'm not safe. Now, I'm exaggerating those words because I actually, in most cases now these days, feel safe. But it for me is about also having confidence. And I find that if I'm feeling fantastic, like I'm more than enough, right, that I've got talents and I've got skills and I've got gifts and I've got experiences to share and I've got stories and I'm actually worthy and deserving, I feel like I can actually then be in a place in and of my own right. I don't know if any of this is helpful for you, Suzanne. If there's a problem with your internet connection, maybe you can just write in the chat. But here's another one that I would suggest that you watch. It's Positive Prime for Confidence. Why did I create it? Because there are so many times in my life where I haven't felt quite confident enough. People think that I have perfected the facade around confidence, but actually that's what it really is. Sometimes it's just a facade. It's a mask I'm putting on. It's a hat I'm putting on because I need to be confident. What I would say to you though, is that there's another session, because I have been through times where I would go to these social networking functions and I would feel like I was a wallflower, like I was so disengaged because I was just not comfortable going up and introducing myself to people. I'm just not that extroverted. And so I actually created this other session that is about social connections. And it's about us really approaching others and believing that others are actually very similar to us. Everybody wants to be loved, wants to feel like they're loving, and wants to know that they're lovable. Everybody has idiosyncrasies. They all have scars. They all have wounds. And if we can just try to come to this place where there's this understanding and we actually, we enter into that space feeling very soft and gentle ourselves, we won't look for the attacks on us, and therefore we won't be feeling defensive. So some people steer clear of people who are a little bit too much. Oh, do you know what? There's this amazing woman. No, it's not here. We created a session for a private client, Gina Hatzitz. I don't know if you know about the Too Much Women movement. Do you know her? She's outrageously confronting. She's fabulous. Let me see if I can Google her so that you can all go and have a little look. This is her, and her brand is Too Much Woman. She's an extraordinary person, really extraordinary person. And I think the movement she's creating is phenomenal. Anyway, it was really about how she was shamed for being too much, too loud, too extroverted, too big, her boobs are too big and she celebrates them, and I could go on and on and on. But this particular this award-winning speech is what really went viral, and she became very, very famous. Let me put that into the chat in case you want it. So I hope that's been helpful. Let me stop sharing. Is that been helpful for anybody else here? Was it worth you showing up here for that 15 or 10 or minutes? Yeah? Mary, you say so? Edwina, you say so? Yeah? Okay, awesome. Suzanne, is that enough for the moment? Okay, yes, thank you. All right, you're beautiful. So come back next week. As you know, I do this every week. Okay, so Alexi, I see your hands up.
I was just going to add exactly the same thing. I am enough. The video on Prime, and outside of that, just if I may suggest, write down everything you have ever accomplished since you were a small child. Even if you sold the most Girl Guide cookies in grade 4, or you had the largest lemonade stand. You know, it doesn't have to be all degrees. Like, you will be amazed at how much you have achieved. You know, everything isn't degrees and world recognition. It's just things on a smaller scale, and I promise you, you will be amazed how much you have achieved. So the bottom line is, you are enough. We never see ourselves the way others see us. You know, we're always downgrading ourselves, but we are enough.
I don't know if you all saw my reactions there. Alexi, that's absolutely perfect. Beautiful and wonderful. Thank you for contributing. It was meaningful. When I talked about talents, skills, and gifts, do you know I've actually been through this process? Alexi, it was many years ago. I actually started to write down everything that I had actually accomplished because I felt like I was a loser. Right. I went through a moment where everything had failed and I made so many mistakes and I was so mean to myself and so nasty to myself. And I was like, I'm a smart girl and I've got all of these, you know, fancy accolades and awards, and I've got a, you know, great education that I'm proud of. But I felt really like I had failed myself and others. And that's what I did. I sat down. And, you know, some people say this and then belittle the answer, but I actually totally agree with you. If what you've accomplished is getting up today, when getting up today was tough, you should seriously give yourself a nice hug, because some days it is hard to get up. It is, because you're actually dealing with something that has been overwhelming for you. And if all you do is just get up and go and have a shower and brush your hair and give yourself something nutritious to eat, some days that's enough. And we don't celebrate that enough in this culture. If today you responded to somebody with kindness when you could have actually just been rude or demanding, that is an accomplishment. That's an achievement that you can actually write down. You know, today I had a choice to actually be a bully, but I wasn't. Today, actually, I chose differently. It's like every single time you go out of your way, that's an accomplishment, that's an achievement. And to your point, Alexi, we get into the energy of this, right? And so it actually then starts to expand and then amplify. And then I believe in the quantum field, we're given more opportunities to show up, and we're given more chances to actually then achieve more. That's basically in this line. And so you have these crumbs then to a brighter, better future. One of the other lists that I've been known to write is, what are my resources here right now? All is not lost. And one of the great questions I've been known to ask myself over and over and over again was, if I was to choose to believe that there are solutions and that somebody had some ideas that I could benefit from, who would I go and speak to? Now, I speak to people. You might do it in another kind of way. Some people read great biographies and they're reading a story and the story reveals the message. There are lots of ways where you can actually acquire great ideas that you can make your own, that you can see if they work in your own life. So I've done a lot of what resources do I actually have, and who do I know who has some ideas that I might be able to benefit from, and can I go speak to them? Yeah, great discussion. Alexi, I have a feeling that you do a lot of coaching, guiding, healing, counseling. Is that right?
Yes, and thanks to Jackie Simons, taking a lot of her programs has helped.
Oh, wow. Okay. You and I are both fans of Jackie's.
Mhm.
And I see that Shelley's also here. So is she. Alrighty. So, Suzanne, where do you watch the replay today? There is actually a great recording from last week's meeting and this meeting. I might ask Mayumi, the sweet dear darling that she is, to actually package this up as a private recording on YouTube, and then send it out to our entire email database, and then they can click it and rewatch it. So you should get a newsletter, an email about it, and we'll have the link in to this one and the last one. Thanks for asking. Mary Lee, I see you've got your hand up as well.
Can you hear me, Kim?
Can, perfectly, thank you.
Okay, one that jumped out at me is the one to be your own hero, your own superhero. That's a really good one. I think sometimes when I'm feeling down, I like the music, and it's just really, really upbeat. So I really like that one.
Do you know, Mary Lee, I love that contribution of yours, because people might not know which one you're talking about. So it's actually Aaron O'Dowd's. Please hear me when I say this. Yes, it's a magnificent session. It's a really magnificent session. And Aaron is actually on a mission to help us all understand that we are all disabled in some way, shape or form. And he wants to celebrate being abled. Can I all draw your attention? This is a perfect segue into this particular menu item that you can see, which is stories, right? So if you click on stories, it'll actually open up a new tab for you. And obviously you're logged in order to find this. It's going to load effectively a series of podcast interviews that Benny and I have done that we've turned into great articles, and there's their sessions. So let me just go back here and show you. Alrighty. Aaron's story is definitely worth listening to. In fact, all of them are, but here's Jackie's. We were just hearing about Jackie, Alexi. So Jackie's story is actually here. So I am often in the very privileged position, and usually it's such an honor to interview some of these people. But here's his story, Sixth Sense Healing Technology. So Aaron was actually born with a condition that would mean that he would lose his eyesight and he would be visually impaired. And what he has accomplished is remarkable. And he's also done so with grace and grit. And he is actually a world-class elite athlete, right? And he actually has represented his country, which is Ireland, in rowing, as in ROWED, as in rowing. And he's also a triathlete. So he runs and he swims and he bikes. And he is literally world-class. He's a beautiful human being. He has his own podcast anyway, and there are lots of other stories, but I digress. So yes, Aaron's superhero. I think it's a great session. And if you go watch his podcast interview via that stories link, I think you'll also see, so this is true for Aaron, he had a piece of music composed for him that is sound healing, and it's actually a part of his session. And so if you go have a look at his story, you'll actually hear his music that's associated with his super mix session. It's outstanding. And so I go and watch that actually also just for the sound healing. I would love it for Positive Prime to be in the position in the near future that it can afford to pay this particular composer and others to create true healing music for everybody within the Positive Prime community. That really excites me. We're going to get there, and we're going to get there with all of your help. Alrighty, so anybody else got anything else today? Anybody else want to add anything else today? Yeah, go on, Mary. Ask to unmute. There we go. Does it give you an opportunity to
Yes,
unmute?
there we go. So it's not a thing I need to worry about or need help with, because Suzanne's question, actually, I was going to talk about Fondy, you know, the fear of not doing enough. That one, the fear of I'm back in high school, I'm the vice president of the Latin club, looking at all the cheerleaders, the cool kids, you know, but yeah, that helped. What you said helped. But here's my question. Is there like you know what an elevator brief is? If somebody says, so Kim, what do you do? Tell me about Positive Prime. And you have from ground floor to the 16th floor to tell me what that is. Is that somewhere so that, because I try to explain to people that I'm doing this every day and it's helping me, but then my brain and my mouth start going cockamamie and I probably sound like an idiot. So is there something like that to help me explain why it's so cool?
Yes and no. We should actually write a script for everyone. This is how I start, right? Because people ask me all the time. It's a global community of really gorgeous human beings who believe in personal development and self-improvement, making the world a better place. And we actually all understand that some of us have very mean, nasty inner voices, and that self-talk is not empowering. In fact, it's destructive at times. And so we actually do an activity that's really much more like an experience. And so you sit calmly and you view something that's called a session. And it's actually 1,000 photographs or images. And it sounds like, oh, they're just pretty pictures and some words on some slides, except it's so sophisticated. And it's so simple that you kind of don't even know that it's actually doing something remarkable from a brain science and positive psychology point of view. And interestingly enough, it's so special, it appeared in Oprah Winfrey's Science of Happiness course with Sean Acor. And there's great research happening at an institution called the University of Technology in Sydney. And they're actually doing EEGs and eye tracking and skin conductance and heart rate variability. And we're already starting to see some positive outcomes that are like seriously amazing. And so I could explain to you what Positive Prime is, but you need to experience it. And the interesting thing is that it actually is only 3 minutes a day. You can do it for 15 though, if you really want to dramatically transform every area aspect of your life. And what you're doing is you're watching these particular, let's call them super fancy slideshows, except it's not a slideshow. And I always say that to everyone, by the way, so let's just cut the script here. Marilee, I always say they're like super fancy slideshows, except they're not slideshows. And I always say it's like you're watching a video, except the neuroscience of it is that it's not a video. It's not an MP4. It's not a .vid. It's not a .mov. It's actually not a movie, because every single time you press play, every single one of those 1,000 frames reshuffles and you see them in a randomized order every single time you press play, and that causes neuroplasticity. We're probably at level 16 now, but you know what? I've done enough probably by this stage, and I would also, of course, leave with, you know, there are days when we're frustrated or we're, you know, overwhelmed, and there are also days when we need more productivity out of ourselves. And in those cases, all I do is log into Positive Prime and I press play. And if I really want something that's a lot more powerful, I've personalized one of these experiences. And it's the personalizing of these things called sessions where the real magic is. And there's lots of resources available to anybody in Positive Prime, but I would just, I mean, I honestly, for what it is, and for only $200 a year, I'd recommend that you do it. And oftentimes that's all people need. I think that the truth is I also can now point to lots of people who have crazy great stories. You know, they've won at the casino, or they've saved their marriage, or they had terrible insomnia and now they actually sleep through the night. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And you could actually say the same thing, Mary. And Mary, when you've actually got some friends or some family members, or you've been to enough of these kinds of events, and you actually see that there are other people who've also got these beautiful outcomes, I think that what happens is we transfer that enthusiasm, and there is a quiet confidence about us, and we know that actually this thing that we do for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes a day actually does have an impact that has a ripple effect.
Oh, I know it does. I've felt
yeah.
it. I've felt it. And some of the things that I've learned from the coaching pearls are, you know, like the Reiki one where she talks about, you know, just for today, I will not worry. Man, I say that 1,000 times. 1,000 times. I get on the treadmill and I do 3 sessions of Prime. I do the coaching, and all through the sessions of Prime, just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will not anger. Just for today, I will be patient. Just for today. And then when my husband does something that frustrates me, I'm like, just for today, I will be patient. Just for today. So it really does help. But then see how goofy I just sounded? It's like, then I sound like that and my friends are going, yeah, she's gone off the deep end. Yeah, she's completely whacked. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
Let us be whacked, right? Let us be in the deep end. You know what the
y'all
funny
do
thing,
you.
yeah, do you know, someone once said to me, oh, Kim, you know, you really are a Pollyanna, and you look at life through rose-colored glasses. And I don't know where I learned to say this, but I'm often digging my heels in, and I say, oh, thank you, that's such a beautiful compliment. And don't I have a better experience of life for that? Like, and don't I have a better experience of life for that? And so I'm opting for that. You can stay with your, you know, look at the world and see everybody in their worst. And you can look at the world with, you know, the opposite of rose-colored glasses. If you're having a fun time and you're feeling really lighthearted and playful and you're super healthy and that's your pathway, that's fine. That's okay. Whatever. I mean, for those of us who've ever being the kind of people who are hard on ourselves, we know how much better it is when we're calm. We know how much better it is when we're actually brighter and we're thinking more clearly. So it's interesting. I've become the kind of person that I always wished that I was going to be. And I'll tell you, I have some pretty interesting challenges show up in business generally, and with my health generally. And the way I deal with things, even now, the observer of me looks and goes, wow. So it all must be working, because I think that there are other people who might be in a similar position who go to jelly or don't get up out of bed. Yeah, and so at the end of the day, it's kind of like, oh, Mary, I want you to tell everyone, but at the same time, I just want you to be happy for yourself.
I am. It even makes me get on the dang treadmill. So
good on you. Good on you. Good on you. Mary Lee says they're her favorite cheerleaders. Yeah, do you know what I've heard before? I'm sure you all have. You've got to have those kinds of people who are cheerleaders in your life. Excuse me. Do you know, I had the great pleasure of working with Christine Tiley. I'm going to show you her session. I work pretty closely with her these days. She is a true role model. Christine Tiley, inspiration for direct sellers. She's so positive. She's a breath of fresh air. Do you know, if I go to her with a really interesting obstacle or a really very complex situation, Christine is the way I expect Christine to be. Beautiful. She's such a joy, right? And she's very clever. But she's a very joyful, clever lady. And I absolutely love her. you know, I kind of think all of us are directly selling ourselves in some way, shape or form, even if it is to our husbands, Mary, you know. Sometimes we need to remind them just how fabulous we are. That quite frankly is often us selling ourselves. No one else is going to do it for us. So anyway, I think that her session is fantastic. And to your point, if I go to Coaching Pearls, you'll see, I showed everyone this one last week. So this is one of her Coaching Pearls. She is a great, she's a great leader inside this community. And she's also got a story. Of course, she has a story. This is her story. So what's fascinating is that she had an extremely interesting situation a couple of years ago. It's like a 1 in gazillion chance of surviving. She survived. She had what's called pseudoaneurysm. She had these very weird kind of like feathering tears on her main artery that actually caused some strokes. The interesting thing is that one of her children at the time was actually fighting for their own life. They'd been given not very many weeks to live, a cancer diagnosis that was extremely rare. Anyway, so she's literally in the same hospital on the same night fighting for her life as her child was, and both of them actually survived. And their whole family does martial arts. Anyway, she said to her neurologist and her rehabilitation specialists, who basically said to her, look, you'll never play sport again, and this, that, and the other. Anyway, she said, well, I'm going to get my black belt in karate. And I don't think that they were incredibly encouraging. I think that they were just like, oh, it's a nice idea, and rolling their eyes. Anyway, she's on her way to a black belt. She's got a brown belt, and it's only 3 years. And she decided to enter into the National Australian Karate Championship, and she freaking won. Right, in her age group, which is over 40. Excuse my language, right? So she is seriously this exquisite human being. So yeah, I would watch hers and Aaron's story. There's lots of stories like that. If you've got a story like that, then get in touch with us. If you want to participate in our community, you want your own session for your own business, we have a whole publishing and professional division of Positive Prime. We love our affiliate program. We've got lots of affiliates who love making their 50% when they share it. And when somebody else signs up and pays their $1.99, I'm very happy to pay them 50% of that. Makes me happy, right? So I hope that helps. Is that it? We've gone just a little bit over today. I'll see you here next week. Tell me, was it worth it? Was it worth showing up? Oh, thank you. All right. Mwah. Love you all. And I'll speak to you soon. Thank you. Ciao.